My name is Lydia Hart, 32 years old. It was supposed to be a big morning. Maddie's first trip without me. 8 years old, thrilled, running on orange juice and adrenaline. She kept checking her backpack like it might vanish if she didn't guard it. Headphones, coloring book, the little stuffed rabbit she refused to leave behind. My parents and my sister's family were taking her to Florida. Sunshine, theme parks, the works. I couldn't get time off work, so I packed her favorite snacks, kissed her hair, and told myself this was fine. She'd be surrounded by family. What could possibly go wrong? At 7:50 a.m., my mom texted a photo from the gate. Maddie grinning, one missing tooth, both thumbs up beneath the caption, "Boarding soon." I smiled at my phone, told a coworker she was off on her first adventure, and tried to ignore the small ache of envy that slid behind my ribs. Then, 2 hours later, another message buzzed through. We all voted that she should stay. I frowned at it mid-meeting, half listening to someone drone about projections and deadlines. Stay where? It didn't even register as serious. My family had a history of weird, cryptic jokes, the kind that made sense only if you'd grown up inside their hierarchy. I set the phone face down and went back to work. I wish I'd called then, but I didn't. And by the time I understood what that message meant, my daughter was sitting in an airport with a stranger, waiting for a mother who didn't know she'd been left behind. The rest of the morning dissolved into noise. Emails, conference calls, the ordinary chaos of a Thursday. Every so often, I'd glance at Maddie's gate photo and feel that quick pulse of pride again. She was brave. She was fine. By mid-afternoon, the office lights had turned the color of old paper. I checked my phone again. No new messages. Of course not. They'd be in the air by now, halfway to Florida. I told myself to stop hovering. When I finally left work, the parking lot smelled like asphalt and heat. I unlocked my car, glanced once more at my phone, and saw the same unread text staring back. We all voted that she should stay. For the first time, it felt strange, wrong. I called my mother as I slid into the driver's seat. She answered on the second ring. Laughter in the background, the clatter of luggage, someone mentioning a rental car. "Hey," I said, smiling without meaning to. "You made it. Put Maddie on." A pause, then my mother's voice, light, casual, like we were discussing the weather. "Didn't you get our message?" "What message?" "The one that said we all voted she should stay." I laughed because my brain refused any other option. "What does that even mean?" My father's voice came next, calm, factual. "She was acting up. We decided it was better she stay home." The laugh died in my throat. "You left her?" My sister cut in, bright and efficient. "Relax. We called an emergency childcare agency. She's fine." "Fine?" Mom again, cheery. "It's a good agency. 5 stars on Google. We'll text you the name. We're catching the shuttle. Talk later." Click. For a moment, I just sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. The silence started to ring. Then motion. Bag over shoulder, keys in hand, no plan, just movement. A link came through from Mom's number. No words, just an address and the agency name. When someone finally answered the agency line, her tone was brittle with exhaustion. "Childcare dispatch." "My daughter," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She was picked up from the airport by one of your sitters. I need to know where she is." More typing than talking. "The child's been collected. She's safe. The caregiver took her home to wait for pickup." "What's the address?" Pause. Keys clicking. "Sending it now." A text appeared, a street name I didn't recognize halfway across the city. I drove too fast. Streetlights smeared across the windshield. Every time I blinked, I saw Maddie's legs swinging over an unfamiliar couch, her rabbit in her lap. When I pulled up outside, my pulse was a steady drum. One tired streetlight buzzed overhead. A woman opened the door before I could knock, sharp-eyed, arms folded. "You the mother?" "Yes," she snorted. "You people have some nerve. She's been here all day." Inside, the place smelled of disinfectant and microwave dinners. Maddie sat on the couch, backpack beside her, rabbit clutched tight. When she saw me, she ran. I caught her mid-stride. "I was good, Mommy," she whispered. "I waited." I held her close. "You did everything right." "Nobody gave me your number," she said. "I called the one they left. It said the person couldn't take calls." The sitter shrugged from the doorway. "I called 3 times too. Got the same recording." "That was my mother's number," I said quietly. "Thank you for staying." She gave a tired half smile. "I'll send the invoice." We left fast. Maddie's hand in mine felt like a lifeline. The night smelled of jet fuel and rain. In the car, she sat silent, her small fingers still gripping my sleeve. Neither of us spoke. At home, she fell asleep on the couch before I could untie her shoes. I covered her with a blanket, sat beside her. She looked impossibly small, hair soft against the pillow, rabbit under her chin. My phone glowed on the table. We all voted that she should stay. I read it until the words blurred. They thought leaving her behind was a decision they'd get to forget. They were wrong. I wish I could say what happened came out of nowhere. It didn't. It was the loudest echo of a lifetime. If you grow up in a family like mine, fairness is a rumor. I was the reliable one. My sister Tracy was the sensitive one. That was code for Lydia cleans up, Tracy gets applause. When we were kids, I did homework at the kitchen table while Tracy drew on the walls with crayon. Guess who got grounded? Mom said it was because Tracy was delicate. Dad said nothing, which counted as agreement. By 10, I could cook dinner, fold laundry, and gauge Mom's mood from 3 rooms away. Tracy, at 7, couldn't pour her own cereal but had already mastered the art of tears on command. Love was a limited resource, and Tracy had the premium subscription. High school didn't change that. I became invisible, efficient. Teachers adored me. Mom said I was dependable. Her word for boring. When college came, they offered no help but endless advice. Don't get too ambitious. Men don't like that. So I got ambitious anyway. Scholarship, double shifts, instant noodles, the holy trinity of escape. Tracy floated through majors and men, marrying one who called freelance a career. Fast forward. I built a life. Job, mortgage, a husband who did his own laundry. Tracy built crises and handed them to me, wrapped in guilt. Each plea started with, I hate to ask, which meant she didn't. And every time I helped, because I was the good daughter, the fixer, until tonight. Watching Maddie breathe, I realized the truth I'd dodged for years. They hadn't forgotten me at the airport. They'd trained me to forget myself. But that training ended here. At dawn, I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and began sorting receipts, family finances, old messages, unpaid rent. Each document a breadcrumb of history, leading to the same truth. Every kindness had become a debt I was expected to ignore. This time, I wouldn't. The first light of morning slid across the kitchen counter, touching everything except the space where Maddie's rabbit sat. The mug beside it had gone cold. My laptop hummed quietly, pages and tabs blooming open like scars reopening themselves. Rent records, old Venmo transfers, flight confirmations, screenshots of Tracy's I'll pay you back soon messages. It was all there. Numbers don't lie. People do. I built the spreadsheet like a map of every time I'd been told family meant giving without keeping track. Each cell told the story of a favor turned expectation. 36 months of underpaid rent, $54,000, $3,000 for the Florida trip, $1,200 for the emergency childcare I never approved. $58,000. It wasn't about the money. It was about the math of disrespect. By the time Maddie woke up, the sun was bright and merciless. She rubbed her eyes and looked at me with that half-dreamy voice only children have. Mommy, are we still mad at Grandma? I swallowed hard. No, sweetheart, we're just learning not to forget. She nodded, accepting the riddle, and went back to coloring at the table. Her new drawing was a rabbit again, this one with a backpack, one paw raised like it was waving goodbye. What's he doing? I asked. Going home. Smart rabbit, I murmured. That afternoon, I called Daniel, a lawyer Jason had once used for a contract dispute. Calm voice, no drama, probably alphabetized his socks. I don't need therapy, I told him. I need a demand letter. He chuckled. Those can be therapeutic too. I sent him the documents within the hour. He sent me back a clean template. Factual, restrained, perfect. Keep it professional. Don't editorialize. Let the numbers speak. I was good at professional. I'd been practicing it my entire life. I titled it simply, Outstanding Balances. Line by line, I laid it out. Rent totals, repayment promises, flight expenses, emergency childcare invoice. I attached every receipt and message thread. When I was done, I CC'd my parents. Because secrets are how they win. I hovered over send. My hand trembled, not with fear, but adrenaline. Then click. That sound was better than applause. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a video call request. Group chat, Mom, Dad, and Tracy. The Florida sun behind them looked obscene, all palms and cocktails and poolside umbrellas. Mom started before the picture even cleared. Okay, what is this supposed to be? Tracy leaned in, laughing too loudly. A bill? Really, Lydia? $58,000? You're hilarious. Dad's expression was flat. You're bluffing. You just want us to feel bad. I stayed silent, watching them squirm through bad Wi-Fi. Mom frowned. Sweetheart, you know we don't have that kind of money. You make 5 times what we do. Why would you humiliate us like this? Tracy chimed in, eyes rolling. Yeah, Saint Lydia and her holy calculator. What's next, charging us for breathing your air? It's not guilt, I said. It's math. That did it. Their smiles vanished like smoke. Mom blinked rapidly. You can't be serious. I am. Tracy's voice rose an octave. You think you can charge your own family? What kind of person does that? The kind you left a child at an airport, I replied. The noise from the pool behind them died. Even the palm trees seemed to stop moving. Mom's lips tightened. You don't treat family like strangers. Exactly, I said. Tracy pointed her drink at the screen. You're exploiting us. Then stop being exploitable. For a second, no one breathed. Then they all began talking at once, defensive, overlapping noise, a chorus of excuses. I waited until they ran out of air. 10 business days, I said, and ended the call. Click. My reflection stared back from the black screen, calm, still, maybe even free. The next morning, the guilt parade began. A dozen missed calls. 3 voicemails from Mom layered in faux concern. We're worried about you. This isn't like you. Tracy's text was shorter. Take it back before you regret it. I didn't. I printed the letter, sealed it in a crisp white envelope, and mailed hard copies. Certified. Signature required. Let them track the truth for once. By the time they flew home from Florida, my doorbell rang 3 times in sharp succession. Entitlement in Morse code. Mom stood in front. Dad a step behind. Tracy clutching her phone like she planned to film my repentance. Mom's voice carried that brittle sweetness she used on waiters. Sweetheart, this is just a misunderstanding. No, I said, it's not. Tracy scoffed. You're just angry about Maddie. Don't ruin the family over this. You did that at the airport. That landed like a slap. Mom's expression faltered, then hardened. You've changed. Good. Dad sighed, glancing at the neighbor's windows. Can we talk about this inside? I'm fine right here. Mom's voice cracked. You're turning your back on your own parents. You left my daughter, I said. I think we're even. For a second, nobody moved. The silence had weight. Finally, I closed the door. The click of the latch sounded cleaner than forgiveness. The next evening, Tracy posted a photo of a cocktail with the caption, Money changes people. Mom commented, proud of you for staying graceful through pain. Graceful. This from a woman who once wept in a grocery store because they ran out of her favorite rosé. By morning, my cousins were texting, why are you suing your parents? I didn't reply. I forwarded everything to Daniel. His call came that afternoon. Interesting family you've got. You have no idea. He drafted a defamation warning. Measured, but lethal. Public posts are admissible evidence, it read. The post vanished within hours, replaced by a new caption. Sorry for the misunderstanding. All good now. Even their emojis looked nervous. That night, Maddie climbed onto the couch beside me, holding another drawing. The rabbit again, but this time it wore sunglasses and carried a tiny suitcase. Where's he going now? I asked. Somewhere sunny, she said, but not with Grandma. I smiled despite myself. He's not scared anymore, huh? She shook her head. Nope, he found home. I brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. So did we. She looked up. Are they still mad? They're confused, I said softly. They think love means you can take anything and call it family. She thought about that. Then maybe they need to learn new math. I almost laughed. Maybe they do. She yawned, curling against my arm, and fell asleep before I could answer. The house was quiet again, just the hum of the fridge and the soft rhythm of her breathing. I stared at the rabbit on the paper, at its little drawn smile. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the background character in someone else's family portrait. I'd redrawn my own outline, and this time, I wasn't erasing myself to make room for them. The following week unfolded like a quiet storm. No shouting matches, no family interventions, just silence. That kind of silence that hums beneath your ribs, waiting to see who calls first. Daniel, my lawyer, didn't seem surprised. They'll stall, then panic, he said over the phone, his tone somewhere between weary and amused. They always do. I'll send a follow-up letter if they don't respond within 10 business days. They won't, I told him. They don't believe consequences apply to them. He chuckled. Then we'll teach them the new math. He sent a revised notice that morning. A calm, lethal compilation of receipts, bank statements, lease clauses, and digital trails. Every item labeled neatly. Exhibit A, rental agreement, signed. Exhibit B, text promises of repayment. Exhibit C, Florida trip expenses. Exhibit D, abandonment incident, contextual evidence. Each line felt like a heartbeat that had finally found its rhythm. By Friday, their panic began to leak through the cracks. Tracy called first, her number flashing across my screen at midnight. I let it go to voicemail. Her message came through in a rush of half sobs and half accusations. "You're ruining us. Do you even care what this looks like? Mom's been crying for days." I played it twice, listening to the background noise, the muffled clinking of glasses, the low hum of a television. Guilt performed on speakerphone. The next day, a text from Dad. "This has gone too far. Maybe we can talk privately." I almost didn't respond, but part of me wanted to see if he'd finally use his own voice instead of echoing Mom's. We met at a cafe near my office, neutral ground. He looked smaller somehow, older. His hands shook slightly as he stirred his coffee. "I didn't want things to happen this way," he began. "Neither did I said. "But you still boarded that plane." His jaw tightened. "Your mother thought—" I cut him off. "I know what she thought. I'm asking what you did." He sighed, eyes darting toward the window. "I thought it was just a punishment. For you, that you'd learn to appreciate them more." I stared at him. "You punished me by abandoning my child?" He winced. "It wasn't supposed to be permanent. Your sister said the sitter was trustworthy." My pulse slowed. "The sitter?" He nodded. "Ryan found the agency through a friend, said it was safe." That detail caught in my chest like a thorn. So it hadn't been random. Ryan, Tracy's husband, had arranged it. I leaned back, every muscle rigid. "You're telling me the agency was chosen by Ryan?" Dad hesitated. He said he knew someone who worked there, thought it would be easier than calling strangers. I didn't question it. "Of course you didn't." He rubbed his forehead. "Look, Lydia, your mother doesn't know how to back down once she starts something. If you push this in court, she'll never recover." I held his gaze. "Then maybe she shouldn't have started it." He dropped his eyes, defeated. "You've always been so much like me." "Then why did you let them treat me like I was disposable?" He had no answer. "When I left, he didn't try to stop me." That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened the agency's website and read the fine print. Their About page boasted glowing reviews, but buried near the bottom was a single line of disclaimers. Independent contractors. Company not liable for third-party errors. Ryan hadn't just picked any agency. He'd picked the kind that left no fingerprints. I stared at Maddie's rabbit drawing taped to the fridge, this one holding an umbrella under a storm. She'd drawn it after a nightmare 2 nights earlier. I wondered what storms she still saw when she closed her eyes. At 1 a.m., I received a new voicemail. From Mom this time. Her voice was different, quieter. "I didn't know how to stop it once it started," she said. "We thought we were teaching you a lesson, but then everyone just kept going. I don't even know why anymore." I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, waiting for something that never came. An apology. A tear. Something human. But all I heard was breathing. Then a click. It didn't feel like remorse. It felt like someone realizing too late that their favorite game had consequences. 3 days later, Daniel called. "They've responded." "How bad?" He laughed softly. "Not bad. Interesting. They're requesting mediation, not litigation. They know they'd lose in court." "They want to settle?" "Essentially. They'll pay part up front, the rest in installments. I've drafted a version that keeps control in your hands." He paused before adding, "You want me to include a confidentiality clause?" I thought about it. About the image they love to curate, the perfect family with perfect posts. I could destroy that illusion in a single public record. But Maddie's voice echoed in my head. Maybe they need to learn new math. "No," I said. "Let it stay open. If they ever forget what they did, I want the truth to be easy to find." Daniel smiled through the phone. "You're terrifying, Lydia." "Efficient," I corrected. "Terrifying costs extra." The following week, the first payment landed in my account. 40% upfront, the rest over 12 months. Signed, notarized, and witnessed. When I opened the email from Daniel titled Final Agreement, my chest felt hollow, not triumphant, not vindicated, just emptied out. Jason came up behind me, resting a hand on my shoulder. "So, it's over?" I nodded. "On paper." He studied my face. "You don't look relieved." "I don't know what relief looks like anymore," I said. He squeezed my shoulder. Maybe it looks like peace you don't have to earn. That night, Maddie drew beside me at the kitchen table. Another rabbit, this one standing under a streetlight, suitcase in paw, waiting for dawn. "What's he doing?" I asked. She grinned. "He's not waiting for anyone to pick him up this time." Smart rabbit. The next morning, an email from Ryan appeared in my inbox. Just one line. "Hope you're proud of what you've done." I stared at it for a long time before replying. Extremely. Then I hit block. Later that week, Dad sent one last message. "We've paid what we owe. I hope someday you remember we tried our best." I typed back, "So do I. But remember, your best left an 8-year-old alone at an airport." I didn't wait for a reply. That evening, I took Maddie out for ice cream. She ordered strawberry. I chose vanilla. As we sat on the curb watching cars blur by, she looked up at me. "Mommy, do you think Grandma and Aunt Tracy are sorry?" I hesitated. Maybe. But sometimes sorry means, "I don't like how this feels," not "I understand what I did." She nodded slowly, licking her cone. "Then we can forgive them later, but not yet." A small smile tugged at my mouth. "Not yet," I agreed. As we walked home, I realized that vengeance hadn't given me peace. Boundaries had. For the first time, I didn't feel like a daughter trying to earn love. I felt like a mother teaching her child what love should never cost. And that, I decided, was enough. 3 months later, the world was still. Not silent, just quieter in the right ways. No phone calls with hidden traps, no guilt-coded apologies disguised as conversation starters. Just calm. The payments arrived on schedule every month, like clockwork. Each one came with an automatic email titled "Family Reimbursement, Installment Received." I didn't even open them anymore. Jason once joked that the money felt like tuition, what they paid to finally learn boundaries. We started calling it the peace dividend. The house changed too. It breathed again. No longer haunted by unspoken obligations or Tracy's "just until next month" boxes stacked in the corner. The rooms echoed softly, clean and simple, the way peace sometimes sounds. Maddie's laughter returned first. It came in bursts, loud, unguarded, fearless. She had nightmares for a while, but they faded. Now she drew rabbits that smiled beneath bright suns instead of hiding under umbrellas. Sometimes they carried suitcases, sometimes they didn't. One Saturday morning, she came running into the kitchen holding a new drawing. "This one's for you," she said, handing me the paper. The rabbit was standing on a porch, its ears pointed toward the sky, a smaller rabbit beside it holding a paper heart. Across the top, in her uneven handwriting, she'd written, "Home means safe." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "That's beautiful, sweetheart." She grinned. "I think we should hang it in the living room, so nobody forgets." "Good idea." I taped it near the doorway, right where sunlight could reach it every morning. A week later, my father's name appeared on my phone again. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger, just caution. His message was short. "Your mother would like to see Maddie. Supervised, if that helps. She's been quieter lately." Jason glanced over my shoulder as I read it. "You gonna answer?" "Eventually," I said. He nodded. "Whatever you decide, make sure it's on your terms." That night, I sat at the kitchen table long after everyone had gone to bed. The house was dark, except for the pool of light on the rabbit drawing. I opened my laptop and began to write. Not a letter of forgiveness, not quite a refusal either, something in between. Subject: revisit. Message: Mom, if you want to see Maddie, it has to begin with an apology that she can understand. Not an explanation. Not a performance. A real acknowledgement that what happened was wrong. Any visit will happen here, in my home, with me present. No surprises, no unannounced family meetings. If you agree, I'll arrange a time next month. If not, I wish you peace where you are. L. I hovered over send, breathing through the weight in my chest, and clicked. For 2 days, there was no reply. Then one came. Subject: revisit message. Understood. I'll think about what to say. Mom. No excuses, no deflection. Just 6 words that didn't sound like her. It wasn't closure, but it was the first honest sentence she'd ever sent me. The next few weeks passed in gentle repetition. Work during the day, home-cooked dinners at night, bedtime stories about brave rabbits and soft landings. One evening, Maddie curled against me on the couch, tracing circles on my hand. "Do you think Grandma really will say sorry?" "Maybe," I said, "but you don't need her to. You just need to know it wasn't your fault." She nodded, thinking. "If she says sorry, can I decide if I forgive her?" "Exactly," I said. "It's your choice." Then I'll decide later, she murmured, drifting to sleep. Her small body was warm against me, and I realized this was what real peace looked like. Not silence, but safety. A month later, Mom showed up. Not unannounced, not performative, just quiet. She stood at the gate, holding a small box wrapped in white paper. I opened the door halfway. "Lydia," she said softly. "Mom." She hesitated, clutching the box. "This is for Maddie. It's the rabbit she lost. I found it in the attic." I took it, wordless, and stepped aside. "Come in." She followed me into the living room, eyes lingering on the drawing taped near the door. Home means safe. For once, she didn't comment on the decor or the silence. She sat down, clasping her hands together. "I don't know how to say this right," she began, her voice trembling. "But I see now what we did, and I can't fix it. I can only tell her and you that I was wrong." I waited, studying her face. For the first time, she looked smaller than the version of her that lived in my memory. "I thought love meant keeping control," she said. "I was wrong about that, too." Maddie appeared at the top of the stairs, rubbing her eyes. "Grandma?" Mom turned, startled. "Hi, sweetheart." Maddie looked at me first. I nodded. She came down slowly, cautious but curious. Mom held out the rabbit. "I think he's been looking for you." Maddie took it, clutching it against her chest. "You found him?" "I did. Thanks." That was it. No hug, no tears, just that single word, thanks, and the smallest smile. It was enough. Mom stayed for 15 minutes. No excuses, no rehearsed speeches. When she left, she didn't say goodbye, only take care of each other. After she drove off, Maddie looked up at me. "Did that count as an apology?" "Yeah," I said softly. "It did." She nodded. "Then maybe I'll forgive her tomorrow." That night, Jason and I sat on the porch. The air smelled like rain and jasmine. Planes crossed the sky, soft streaks of silver against dark blue. Maddie sat between us, tracing patterns on Jason's arm. "When I grow up," she said, "I'm going to be a pilot." Jason smiled. "Why's that?" "So I can fly people home," she said simply. I swallowed the ache in my throat. "That's a beautiful reason," I whispered. She looked at me, eyes bright. "Because home means safe, right?" "Always," I said. We watched the next plane pass, its lights blinking gently as it disappeared into the clouds. Later that night, when the house was quiet, I opened the old spreadsheet one last time. All those numbers that once screamed imbalance now looked strangely harmless. They were just history, records of what it cost to break free. I deleted the file. Then I went to Maddie's room. She was asleep, the old rabbit tucked under her chin, the new one resting beside it. I kissed her forehead. "Smart rabbit," I whispered. Outside, a faint breeze moved through the trees, carrying the scent of rain. For the first time in a long time, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not revenge, just balance. They had left her behind. I had left them behind. And finally, nobody followed.